A garden is where you go if you want something to eat.
That's right, that's right. That's right.
Not the grocery store. You go to the grocery store because you ain't got a garden. See, if you had a garden and you needed something to eat, you would just go out and pick it and eat it. But since you ain't got no garden, then you have to go to the devil's supermarket so he can rob you. And worse than that, he's like that wicked witch that was in that fairy tale called Snow White. That wicked witch gave Snow White an apple. Right. Only it wasn't an apple. It was poison. Yes. But it looked like an apple. Right. It looked good. And evidently, since she ate it, it tasted good. But it put her to sleep. Yes, sir. Then she had to stay asleep till the prince showed up and gave her a kiss. Then she woke up. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, take your mouth out of the white man's kitchen. Right. In other words, he got poison apples up in there. He got poison groceries. It looks like food, but it's not. It's a concoction. It's artificial. It's refined. It looks good. It may even taste good to your distorted taste buds. You like how it tastes. That's because he also put some chemicals in there that addict you. Right. So you're addicted to sugar. Right. You go through withdrawal. You go through mood swings if you can't get a sugar fix. Right. That's what's wrong with some of you right now. You were supposed to get a sugar fix about 11 o'clock. Here it is after 12. Now you jittery. You got a pounding headache. I wonder when the meeting's gonna be over. Because I got to get some sugar. When I test people, I always test them against sugar. And it's a rare person that tests well for sugar. That's a rare person. And then I go back and double check because I think I must have made a mistake. Because it's not actually natural for us to be eating refined sugar. Just like we shouldn't be eating refined salt. We should be having, if we have something sweet, it should be in its natural form, like fruit, like vegetables. It's like the salt should be the salt from the sea, because it has all of the natural minerals. Not just sodium chloride. If you're just taking the sodium chloride that the devil gives you, that he puts a little iodide in it, yeah, that does make your blood pressure go up. And it does not satisfy your need for the other minerals, so you have what you call a salt craving. So there you are in the middle of the night with a bag of potato chips. I got this salt craving. I got to feed this salt. I know we're not supposed to eat no peanuts, but I got a salt craving. See, that's just the devil. He's manipulating you. He's making you eat things that you shouldn't really be eating. But since you don't have your own garden, you don't have any choice about it. You got to give what he's offering, and what he's offering is designed to not just put you to sleep like Snow White. It's actually designed to kill you. He has genetically engineered foods now that kills bugs. So when you eat that corn, or you eat those potatoes, or the other engineered crops, or those soybeans, that's the number one. Well, then that gene that they put in the soybean or the gene that they put in the corn that kills bugs, that gene activates inside your body and starts producing a pesticide. And so if it kills the cells in a bug's body, then it's going to kill the cells in your body. You're using the artificial sweetener because you said, well, I don't want to use the sugar because the doctor told me my sugar's high. So now you're using Splenda and the other artificial sweeteners, and when you metabolize that, the body converts that into formaldehyde. So I test people sometimes and formaldehyde shows up. I say, well, you drinking Diet Pepsis, aren't you? You drinking diet sodas and diet candy and diet this and low sugar this and. So what is formaldehyde used for? You use that to embalm bodies. So somebody's embalming you, laying you to rest before your time. You were just a sitting duck. Go ahead. You're the perfect victim. Why? Because you got your mouth in the white man's kitchen. And because you are eating the wrong foods, then you can't actually be your natural self. You're sick. You're weak. You're in pain. You can't actually concentrate on your real agenda. You can't concentrate on your actual program for life because you got too many problems. You got too many aches and pains. You concentrating on what hurts. Oh, God. When something hurts, you can't take your mind off of that. You can't take your mind off of it until you take some Tylenol or some Excedrin or some Motrin or something to kill that pain. And then if that don't work, go get you a prescription and get some Vicodin. Or go get you some heroin. Or if it's psychological pain, go get some Reaper. Go get some crack so you feel that exhilaration, even if it's only for a minute. So you medicate yourself above the pain and the medication and the phony food, the artificial food. I mean, just the audacity of this devil to make you and me think that he knows how to make food. That devil don't know how to make food. Only Allah knows how to make food. Let me read something else. Is everybody all right?
Yes, sir.
Where's this other verse? Right here it is. This is in chapter 47, verse 15. Chapter 47 is called Muhammad. So your name is Muhammad, right? Yes, sir. Okay, so this is your chapter. A parable of the garden which the dutiful are promised. Therein are rivers of water, not altering for the worse. You can't even get no water in L.A., can you? Not out the tap. You got to go buy it in a bottle, don't you? You got to believe what's written on the label, don't you? You got to pay that high price, don't you? You complain about how much the gasoline costs, but how about the water? You're paying more for water than you are for gasoline. Somebody done cut off your water. You're supposed to be in a garden with rivers of water, not altering for the worse. Now they got refined water. Yep. In plastic bottles. And that plastic gets into the water and you drink it. What's dioxin? That's a chemical that's in plastic. That's right. What does dioxin do to the human body? It causes cancer. It's the most potent cancer-causing chemical that there is. So they got you drinking water out of plastic bottles. Now wait a minute, I'm drinking my water out of plastic bottles too. See? So we're all in the same boat.
Yes, sir.
And the reason I'm drinking my water out of plastic bottles is the same reason you're drinking your water out of plastic bottles. So we ain't got no garden. And we're going to keep on drinking out of plastic until we get our garden. That's what I'm actually saying. It's hard living out on the desert. We need a garden. So therein are rivers of water, not offerings for the works, and rivers of milk, whereof the taste changes not. Rivers of milk. As you look in this Quran, there's many verses talking about milk, where milk is considered to be something that was sent down from heaven. The devil told you you had to go to heaven to get milk. And that's about right, because he has outlawed real milk.
That's right. That's right.
He's outlawed you from even nursing your own baby with your own milk. Because he got you so tied up as a financial dependent, you can't actually afford to nurse your baby. As though you could afford not to nurse your baby. See, that's what's wrong with all of us, in a sense. The Quran says that a mother is supposed to nurse her baby until the age of 2. Matter of fact, it says 2 whole years. Because along with the milk that nourishes and grows the body, especially the brain of that baby, comes mother's love and compassion and tenderness and caring. But when you leave the baby alone with a plastic bottle filled up with soybean mix, trans fatty acids, artificial vitamins, artificial minerals, whatever the devil concocted to put in there, coming out of an aluminum can. Boy, that baby's lonely. He's laying over there in the crib with a plastic bottle filled up with artificial formula. He's just been born into the world. He's trying to find a place. Come on. He don't even know what the world is. He needs some comfort. Come on. He needs some warmth. He needs some tenderness. He needs some love, but he can't get that. He's down at the daycare center, in the crib, with a plastic bottle and artificial food. So mama, she got to work. See, we are in the hands of a real enemy. That's why you're so cold, brother. That's why you don't find a lot of tenderness among us, sensitivity, warmth, concern, compassion, love. That's why we all messed up. Got all these strange feelings and ideas. Don't nobody love me. Where'd you get that from? You got that even before you could crawl out of your crib. You started to feel lonely and isolated and find yourself alienated even from your own mother. I heard a blues song one time. Man was talking about, don't nobody love me but my mother. And she might be God. Now you know that's bad. Now that's funny, but on the other hand, that's tragic. Because what would cause a man to write a song like that and sing a song like that? And he was singing it with feeling. That's how he feels. That nobody loves him except his mother, and she might be jiving. The reason he thinks she might be jiving is because she put me over there in the corner with a plastic bottle and some artificial formula because she was watching her story. See, that's us now. I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. But I'm just saying that's our reality. And it makes us what we are. If we come up like that, we can't be any better than that until we change that circumstance. Allah never changes the condition of a people until they change themselves. See, the translators are a little bit confused about that verse. They say Allah never changes the condition of a people until they change it themselves, meaning change the condition themselves. Some translators say Allah never changes the condition of a people until they change themselves. I like the second one. Because what changes your condition is you. Who do you think is going to change your condition? It's you. Ain't nobody coming to save you. The ones that was coming to save you have already come and gone. When we sang that song, I saw a band of angels coming after me. What that meant, Master Farad Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Minister Farrakhan, they already came. They already gave us everything that we need. We didn't have no mother, but Master Farad Muhammad said he loved us better than a mother loves her baby. So no, we didn't nurse on his physical breast, but he gave us a river of milk, a river of water. The verse says a river of wine and a river of honey. That's what's in the garden. And we nursed that from Master Farad Muhammad. The Quran says that if a woman is not able to nurse her baby, then it's permissible for her to get a wet nurse. What they used to call down south a mammy. Not the mother, but she got a breast that's full of milk, and so the baby can feed from that breast. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is like that. He's like the wet nurse. In the absence of Master Farad Muhammad, we were sucking at his breast. And he fed us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. But more important than that, he fed us love that we never got from any other source. You didn't get what I said. We get all excited about the supreme wisdom, and I got my lessons. I got the problem book. I got this. I got that. All that's great. But the greatest thing we got from Allah and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is love. Because they prove. They prove that it's possible to love a people like us. Right. They prove that it's possible to love a brother like you. Right. It's possible to love a sister like you. That there's something in you that is worthwhile. There's something in you that is of transcendent value and worth. There's something in you of divine, and they love you better than your mother loved you. They loved you better than your father loved you. They loved you better than you loved yourself. So we've been nursing. We've been nursing the same thing from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. The number one thing about the minister that sets him apart from everybody else is not so much that he's smarter than everybody else. He is smart. He is faithful. He is a hard worker. He is sacrificial. He's all of those things. But the greatest thing about him is he loves us. Right. More than anybody. Yes, sir. That's right. It is the attractive power of his love that causes 1 million people to show up. Yes, sir. That's right. Go ahead. He has said himself that sometimes you could take my speeches. This is the minister saying. And look at the words. Like he said, the first time I remember him saying this was when he spoke in 1983 in Washington at the 20th anniversary of the March on Washington. And they didn't really want him to speak. So they gave him like 2 or 3 minutes to speak. He ended up speaking for 6 minutes and 10 seconds. The march was dead. But when the minister stood up and spoke what he said, the crowd came up. And he told us later that night in the hotel room, he said, if you go back and listen to that speech or write it out, so there wasn't nothing in the speech that was all that great. There was no great ideas. There was no great heavy wisdom that I dropped. Didn't have enough time. But what is in it is the spirit of love. And for people who are as love deprived as we are, just the hint of it is enough to bring us up, to get us excited, to energize us, and make us ready for what's next. Okay, so what's next? Now let me finish reading this verse. Y'all keep going. Deep up on the roster and rivers of water, not altering for the worse, rivers of milk, whereof the taste changes not, rivers of wine, delicious to the drinkers, and rivers of honey, clarified. See, this is the parable of the garden. Water, milk, wine, and honey. And for them therein are all fruits and protections from their Lord. And are these like those who abide in the fire, and who are made to drink boiling water, so it rends their bowels asunder? Most certainly not. Now the point I'm going to close on, and then we're going to do something real special, is kalima, which we find in the Arabic language as a very special word. And in the Arabic, this one word encompasses these 4 words in English. See, the first verse that I read from chapter 14 concerning the garden compared a good word to a tree that is planted in a garden. When we look at the word that is used in Arabic for word, we find it's the same word that is used tree. The same word that we use for word and tree also means deed or act, and it also means seed. So in the Arabic, there's no distinction made between word and deed. See, we're given a lesson. Have you not learned that your word shall be bond? Because we come up in a world where word is not necessarily tied to deed. That people say out of their mouths one thing, but what you see them doing is something else. There's a dichotomy, there's a split between word and deed, but in our original state, word and deed are one and the same thing. Look at Allah. It is only for Allah to say be, and it is. The word or the act of speech, of speaking a thing, is actually the creative act that brings it into existence. We are the same in our nature, that when we are in our right state, then that which we say, that which we speak with our mouth, that which we speak with our mind, becomes a power in the universe. You didn't hear what I said. The power of our will, the power of our intention is a power that operates freely in the universe. Come on, teach now. It is the authority in the universe. Go ahead. When you speak your intention, come on, and the loudest voice that you have is not coming out of your mouth, The loudest voice that you have, the most powerful way of expressing yourself is through your intention, the voice of your mind.
Come on now.
When you speak your intention with sincerity and with consistency and with no confusion, that becomes an electrical force or power that goes out into the universe. And it collects to itself all of the elements that are necessary for the fulfillment of that intention. You're not listening to me. I'm saying that the same power of creation that you give the credit to Allah for, which you should, you have the same power.
Come on now.
That's what it means that Allah came in person. Allah in a person to show you what's in your person.
Come on. Good teaching, brother.
You want to act like he came down from the moon or from some other planet or like he's from some other species.
Come on.
He's the same species. He's a human being.
That's right.
And he's in the image and likeness of God, but so are you.
Right. Come on now.
You ain't hear me.
Yes.
So you got a resistance against truth concerning yourself. Because when you learn the truth about yourself, then with that truth comes responsibility.
Right.
See, you think it's better for you to remain some weak Negro.
Come on.
Because as a weak, powerless Negro, you can remain irresponsible. Don't nothing count on you. You can just weave your way through life like a snake. Committed to nothing. Responsible for nothing. But when the truth concerning you comes out, some of you wish that you had never heard it. Because it makes you responsible. It makes you responsible for yourself. It makes you responsible for your condition. And you like it better when the white man can be blamed for your condition. That the reason you in hell is because the white man is the devil and he did this to you. But the truth of it is, the white man is the devil, but he ain't done nothing to you. You're in the condition that you're in today because of what you are failing to do for yourself. Well, you could be excused for not doing much for yourself until the knowledge of God himself has come to you. But now it has come.
That's right.
You are in receipt of the knowledge of God himself. Why would a man give you a subject like that, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did in 1969? The knowledge of God himself. Why would he give that to you unless you are God himself?
Make it plain.
They ain't listening. You think you something else other than God. Yes, you do. You think you are something else other than God. That's what's wrong with you. You think that you are something else.
Yes.
That's why you call one another dog. Because you want to be something else. My son called me a dog one time. What's up, dog? Dog, it ain't like that. I mean, I was so mad because I'm a cool cat. Calling the cat a dog. I was so mad. See, cats and dogs don't like one another. See, that's how they sow dissension in families. In my generation, we were cats. In your generation, you dogs. So now fathers and sons can't see eye to eye because they calling you out of your name. I wasn't really a cat. My son is not a dog. We're gods. So, kalima is word and deed joined together. No separations. Word is bond, and bond is life. And I will give my life before my word shall fail. See, we don't quite understand it the way it is. We're used to being punished for failing to do things. So we think that when we don't make our word our bond, somebody's going to come and punish us, beat us up, or shoot us, or put us out, or lynch us. Somebody might do that. I'm not saying they won't. But that ain't the worst punishment.
That's right.
When you or I fail to make our word bond.
Yes.
In other words, the bond that unites these two, word and deed. When we fail in that regard, die. That's how you give your life. Your life is bound up in your word that is carried into practice, carried into deed. Does good, then you are in the full authority and power of life. That's it. But when you are one who does not make your word your bond, does not unite your word with your deeds, then you have lost your life. And you are a dead particle in the universe. Come on. That every bird of the air finds a resting place in its branches. See, that's a parable of the kingdom of God. That's the parable of how we get back to the garden. That if we have the faith in what? In the word that we have been given. The grain of a mustard seed. And then know how to plant it.
That's right.
Then it will grow into the greatest tree in the garden, and all of the birds of the air will find a resting place.
Yeah.
See, that solves the retention problem. When they come and they don't find that kind of a tree, because no garden exists, there's no trees, there's no branches, there's no resting place. They come, they flap around. Where's my place? I don't see no place for me. I'm getting tired. I'm flapping, I'm trying to find a resting place. They said this is where the kingdom of God is being constructed. I'm getting tired, I'm flapping, I don't see no place for me. Where's my resting place? I don't see nothing for me. I'm getting tired, I better flap off where I came from. I ain't got no place that I can find rest. Don't mean go to sleep. Rest from this wicked world. A refuge from this wicked world, from the stresses and the strain and the pain and the suffering and the agony of this world. I'm looking for the kingdom of God. They told me that you people got the word that brings in the kingdom. But where are the deeds? That go with the words. Where's the seed that represents potential? See, that's what we are now. We're potential.
That's right.
We're all potential gods. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this modern day black man is not a good example of the original man. The original man being the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, the God of the universe. But this modern day black man, you ain't no good example. I ain't no good example of that original man, because we ain't making nothing. We're not owning nothing. We're not cream that's rising to the top. Rising to the top. projecting our power out into the universe to make the universe serve our needs.
That's right.
See, what does the Quran say? The Quran asks the question, see you not that Allah has made subservient to you whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth? And if we answer truthfully to that question, no, we don't see no such thing.
Go ahead.
We don't see how the heavens is subservient to us. We don't see how the earth is subservient to us. We feel subservient to the heavens. That's why I check my astrology chart every day. That's why I'm being controlled by a weed that grows up out of the ground, and I can't break the habit of that tobacco.
Right.
I can't break the habit of that reefer. I can't break the habit of that crack cocaine. Things coming up out of the earth that are supposed to be subservient to me.
Yeah.
They got power in them that is holding me down, holding me back. It's because I don't know who I am. So this modern day black man, this modern day black woman, not a good example of who the original man is, but he gave us that lesson as an ideal. Not just an idea, but an ideal that we would strive to become the makers, the owners, the cream of the planet Earth. And when we do that, then we put ourselves in a garden wherein flow rivers of water, milk, wine, and honey. And where grow every fruit. Because we planted every tree. In other words, look at it this way. We're going to close it out. When you do good, the good that you do begins with a word. Whether it's a spoken word or whether it's an unspoken word that resides in the intention of your mind. Every good deed begins with a good word. Now, every evil deed begins with an evil word, an evil thought. Thought precedes action.
Right.
So you got to be careful what you're thinking. You must be thinking good thoughts in order to do good deeds. It don't work the other way around. Now, when I have the right word, the right thought, the good deed follows. That's like planting a seed in the ground. Sometimes when you do good, brother, it looks like it's for naught.
Come on.
When you do good, come on, speak the good word, do the good deed. Seems like it gets wasted.
Come on.
But now, that's the way a farmer looks to an ignorant person.
Good.
Assalamu alaikum. Minister Tony Muhammad is here. And here you are hungry. Need some corn. And here's a farmer, he got a whole a wagon full of corn, and he's throwing it away in the ground. But he's not throwing it away. He's planting it. But it looks like he's throwing it away. If you dig down there in the earth where he planted that corn, it rotted. That good corn that we could have ate. Now it's rotten in the ground. He just wasted all that corn. But see, that's an ignorant man who don't understand the miracle of life. Don't understand the bounty of Allah, the beneficence of Allah, that He takes a kernel of corn like that and gets buried in the earth as though it is destroyed, as though it is dead. But He germinates it. So it puts down a root. And then it puts up a stalk. And that stalk grows under the power of the sun and the moon and the elements of nature. And in due course of time, in 120 days, that single kernel of corn produces a stalk on which there are 6 or 7 ears of corn. And on each ear of corn, there's 500 kernels, just like the one that you planted. What the good farmer knows is I ain't wasting nothing. See, what the righteous person should know, you're not wasting your righteous deeds. You're not spilling them out on the ground and they go for naught. No, they are seeds that are being planted in the earth. So keep sowing your seed. Keep sowing your good deeds. Keep speaking the good word. Keep speaking the good thought. Keep doing the good deed and then cultivate. That farmer don't think he's wasting his time out there cultivating the field. You looking, I don't see nothing coming up. He's out there working that field. Come on, man. He's cultivating. He's tending the garden, even though you don't see the garden yet. The garden's on the way. Yes. That's why there's rivers, the garden beneath which flow rivers. Hidden rivers of water underneath the garden that you don't see. This is the river of faith. Come on. That undergirds the efforts of the righteous. And that you're doing good for goodness sake. You're doing good because that's your nature. You're doing good because you know that's what Allah's will is. You're doing good because it's your own good deeds that create the garden of paradise in which you shall live. So like Muhammad said, put yourself in heaven at once. Right. As soon as you do enough good deeds and cultivate those good deeds and allow the natural course of time, then your good deeds will sprout like seed into trees. And on each tree is a fruit. Go ahead. Go ahead. To satisfy your every need. Isn't that what heaven is? Yes, sir. A place where you are, where every need that you have is satisfied. Hell is a place where you are, yes, sir, where none of your needs are being satisfied. You need this, ain't got it. Need that, ain't got it. Need something else, ain't got it. Ain't get it. Ain't nowhere in sight. Heaven is where I need all. Matter of fact, I got so much. Come on. This tree will produce so much. Come on. I can't eat all this fruit. Here, brother, you take some. So that's how you get rich. That's right. From the garden. Come on. Because Allah's bounty is so great. You just ask for one apple. He gives you an apple tree. Right. It produces bushels of apples. So after you eat so many apples that you get a stomach ache. Now what you going to do with them 100 bushels of apples that you got? You're going to take them to the market. And you're going to make them available to other people who also like apples. And they're going to give their precious money, their precious resources in exchange for what you produced in your garden. Make it plain. So now, I'm not talking abstract. No, sir. This was given as a parable in the Holy Quran, so you could say, well, that's abstract. That don't really mean what it's saying. It's symbolic. Well, yeah, it's symbolic, but actually, there's something kind of concrete about the tree. That's concrete. And it's also something within your power. See, you actually could plant a seed. Couldn't you? Yes, sir. You actually could do that. You actually could get you a field, and you could plant it with grass and with clover, and it would grow, wouldn't it? Yes, sir. I mean, it actually would grow. Yes, sir. And then you could put a cow in there. and feed that cow on that grass and on that clover, and that cow would get strong, and pretty soon that cow would start producing milk. And there would be your river of milk, wouldn't it? And you could grow grapes and other fruits, and that would be your river of wine or fruit juices and that kind of thing. You could have flowers and all kinds of blossoms coming up on your tree, and the bees would be attracted to all of those flowers, and they would begin to pollinate all of those trees and all of those plants. And now the bees start producing honey and other substances of a medicinal value to heal your aches and your pain.
Go ahead.
That's within your power.
Go ahead. Come on now.
You didn't hear what I said.
Yes, sir.
That's within your power.
Come on.
That's your godly power to transform your life into heaven while you live. That's your God-given right. That's your God-given power. That's your God-given authority. That's your God-given mandate to take this earth and create it into a garden. And if you do it, then you will find yourself in heaven while you live. So I think that's what I wanted to say. But you have to be kind to one another.
That's right. That's right.
If you ever saw a farmer, how he handles his seed, you call his precious seeds. These are precious.
Right.
Because from this comes life. I gotta protect it. Keep it in the right kind of place, under the right conditions, so the water won't spoil it, or mold won't get into it, or pests won't attack it and destroy the seed, because these seeds that I have, this is my garden.
Yeah.
I got all the seeds of my garden in the palms of my hand. It's in your hands to produce heaven. But you got to guard and protect the potential that's in you, that's in one another. So that means you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of one another. See, why did Master Farad Muhammad call us fruit? See, because in a fruit is a fertilized ovum of a plant. And as it develops on the plant or on the tree, in it is a seed. That's how you find the seed. The seed is in the fruit. So the fruit of Islam is not just the brothers. The fruit of Islam is everybody that has come under this word.
Yes.
And who has been acted upon in a certain way that has cultivated a new life within you.
Right.
Now that's a whole subject in and of itself. But since you are a fruit of Islam, then you yourself carry within yourself the potential to produce a tree just like the one that produced you. See, that's what we need. We need brothers, we need sisters who understand that they are fruits. Now, fruit is very attractive. It smells good, looks good, tastes good, it's juicy, it's luscious, it's succulent. See, that's how we have to be. You got to look so good, brother. You got to look so good, sister, that somebody wants to take a bite out of you.
Find that good.
They want to pick you, teacher. We have to become so attracted to our people who are living in hell that when they see us, they want to consume us. And you can't be frightened, because what else was a fruit produced for except to be consumed? Be consumed. Be full of the nourishment and the energy and the enrichment that Islam gives to a person. Be full of it. And then let people devour you. Devouring your wisdom, devouring your knowledge, devouring your understanding, making what you are a part of them. Don't be afraid. Is the seed afraid when it goes down into the earth? Does it give up its hope? That the Father has cast me away. Now I'm going down to death. It may look like that. But it's the same faith that Jesus had to have at the time of crucifixion. Did he really think that was it? Or was he ready to transform to another level of existence? So what I'm saying, we are sometimes called the first fruit. Not the last fruit, the first fruit. Meaning that this first fruit has got to be willing to take on the aspect of death. To go on out into the world, go on out and be buried in the earth.
Come on.
To go down as though you are dying, but you will not be dying. You are going down to be resurrected up in a new form as a tree. You once were fruit, now you are tree. And you become that tree. And you come into the maturity of that new existence on that new level, then you start producing fruit of your own.
Come on.
See, that's how we take this thing. That's right. This is how we convert this whole thing into the garden of Allah. So we want to show a little film clip. It's about 15 minutes long. That's okay? Yes, sir. It's what I tried to show last year at Mosque wasn't able to do so. It's called Pottinger's Cats. It's an experiment that was conducted in the late 30s and early 40s on cats. See what happens to cats when you take them away from their right food. Okay? And then we'll watch that, and then
perspective might fit most comfortably. There is an enlightening series of historical studies which warrant the serious consideration of anyone interested in the field of nutrition. There was a time during the 30s and 40s when a most fundamental and enthusiastic investigation was begun by a young doctor. Pottinger was his name. Francis M. Pottinger, Jr., pediatric allergist, innovative researcher, and the son of an internationally notable pioneer in the treatment of tuberculosis, as well as other chronic diseases of his day. Here is the Pottinger Sanitarium to which tuberculosis patients from around the world traveled in the hope of rediscovering their health. Another landmark, the laboratory and refrigeration tower where Pottinger conducted various research projects. Down among that grove of trees, you can distinguish the roof line of the Pottinger Clinic. Francis Pottinger at first followed in the footprints of his father. He and his staff continued to see tuberculosis patients as well as carry on in the research avenues that had shown some usefulness. But as chronicles of history so often express, the serendipities of science take unexpected twists. A phenomenon is observed quite by accident, which boggles the perspective that redirects new levels of creative inquiry. So it was for Dr. Pottinger. While working on his father's theory that tuberculosis was linked to adrenal gland deficiencies, he took on the task of standardizing adrenal extracts by using adrenalectomized cats. These were the steps required to standardize the biological extracts for later use with his tuberculosis patients. The cats chosen for the study were apparently in perfect health. They were kept in open-air pens with a yard 4 feet wide, 7 feet high, and 12 feet long. They were fed cooked meat scraps from the sanitarium, which included internal organ meats and bones, along with some additional raw milk and cod liver oil. According to all known standards, this diet provided an optimal amount of nutrients. The cats seemed healthy. The adrenalectomy technique had been proven appropriate. Nevertheless, the study suffered from an unexplainably high mortality rate. Then came that uncalculated twist of events. For some reason, many more cats were provided for the study than could ever have been fed using leftover cooked meat scraps from the sanitarium. So raw meat scraps from a nearby meatpacking plant replaced the cooked meat in the diets of certain cats. Within a very short period of time, the operative mortality rate of that group dropped significantly. The raw meat-fed animals began to survive the adrenalectomy extremely well, and they continued on in a superior quality of health. Pottinger had unexpectedly glimpsed a new facet of fundamental nutrition, and he was compelled to respond with a series of studies that would span the next 10 years of his medical career. To begin the study, a population of animals was selected which Pottinger aptly dubbed run-of-the-pen cats. He was not interested in physical perfection. His major concern was that his cats represent a normal sampling of animals, with the exception that cats with obvious deformities or disease were excluded. Needless to say, when people from the nearby community heard of the study, more cats were mysteriously abandoned on the Pottinger doorstep than could ever be used in the experiment. Pottinger was intrigued by what he termed heat labile factors, or put as an experimental question, he asked, does the cooking process somehow render food nutritionally deficient, causing eventual physiological degeneration? A basic diet was designed consisting of raw meat, viscera, bones, a small amount of raw milk, and cod liver oil. Each day, this basic diet accounted for 1/3 of the total dietary intake of the animals. The remaining 2/3 of the diet was the dimension of experimental manipulation. One group of cats received raw meat or cooked meat along with the basic diet. The other group of cats were given raw milk, pasteurized milk, evaporated milk, or sweetened condensed milk. Each cat's daily diet then consisted of 1/3 of the basic diet, plus 2/3 of the prepared food which was under study. And once assigned to a specific group, the animal's diet was held constant. Although there were two different studies, one focusing on milk and the other on meat, the results of both studies were nearly identical. Over the next 10-year period, Pottinger observed and recorded numerous physiological changes in the experimental animals and their offspring. First, you will observe the raw milk animals. They move about the pen with a great deal of agility and coordination. Notice the sheen to the fur and the normal sexual interest displayed toward the male in the next pen. As would be expected, they land on their feet when thrown in the air. about the pen in a manner quite different from the raw milk cats. The cat in the foreground actually developed arthritis during the experiment. They are lethargic, much like animals in a zoo. When thrown a short distance, these animals show a slightly impaired sense of coordination. Dental deterioration was also common. Note the abscesses above the molars, the reddish cast of the gums, and the soft gingiva. With evaporated milk, there was even greater deterioration. When the study was begun, this cat was better developed than any animal shown thus far. The sweetened condensed milk-fed cats not only had their milk heat processed, but there was the addition of sugar. They are nervous animals. Again, there is marked deterioration in coordination and dental abnormalities. Notice particularly the abscesses and the purple tone to the membrane of the mouth. For a further comparison, here is another example of normal development. Notice the firm gingiva, the normal coloring tones, the beautiful broad mouth, the full jaw with obvious power. This animal happens to be a male, but the comparison is nonetheless valid. Here is another illustrative comparison. The raw milk female gets in 20 or 30 licks for every one of the pasteurized milk females, then leaps away in disgust. These were all first-generation animals, born of theoretically healthy parents, and who themselves were healthy at the beginning of the study. Disturbing as these observations might be, the impaired balance, the lack of energy, the dental deterioration, some of the most significant findings emerged as Pottinger extended his study down to the second and third generations. Almost immediately, Pottinger noticed that animals fed the raw meat diet for 2 generations appeared larger than the same generation of cooked meat cats. At 16 weeks, this second generation raw meat cat weighs 2,000 grams, while the second generation cooked meat animal only comes up to 1,600 grams. Compare the black kitten with this raw meat kitten. The sheen, the sparkle of the eyes, the well-developed face. Nutritional studies often look at skeletal development as a rather vital index of dietary sufficiency. This is a raw meat animal with a full, round face. A later examination of the skull showed a firmly developed zygomatic arch. The frontal sinuses were complete, and calcium content of the bones throughout the body ranged from 12 to 17% by weight. The skulls of adult cats with a long ancestry of raw food diets are surprisingly constant. Here we find the development of a second generation cooked meat animal. The head has begun to flatten and is actually smaller than the comparable raw meat cat. The skull shows the major reasons for this change. The zygomatic arch is not completed. The nasal development is somewhat irregular, and the calcium content has fallen to 10%. Third generation cooked meat animals show the most remarkable skeletal change. The skull is considerably smaller. It is flat with pointed features. The skull shows a poorly developed zygomatic arch. The bones are paper thin and soft like sponge rubber. The frontal sinuses had developed in a peculiar fashion, and the calcium content of the bones had fallen to a low 3% by weight. Activity level is another index of interest. In this pen, there is an obvious difference in activity level between the raw meat animals and the cooked meat animals. One of these cooked meat kittens actually had a broken back resulting from a failure in development. Moving into the third generation of experimental animals, the degeneration was even more pronounced. The smaller animal is a cooked meat kitten and is actually the oldest of the three. The kitten on the left is a second generation raw meat cat, and the one on the right is a second generation cooked meat cat. Here is a second generation cooked meat mother with her third generation offspring. She has a male body configuration. Her offspring developed nasal and ocular allergies. From this same litter came an asthmatic kitten, purportedly the first to be reported in the research literature. Again, there is marked dental deterioration, abscesses, poor coloring, and gingival irritation. Pronounced exhaustion was a typical observation among the third generation of cooked meat kittens, as well as impaired coordination. This third generation cooked meat kitten had over 24 fractures, resulting from a failure in development. And finally, this little third generation cooked meat kitten was unable to release its claws from the hardware cloth, and probably would have died had not the assistant taken it down. At this juncture of the study, a most interesting development emerged. The cooked meat cats were unable to successfully reproduce after the third generation. Most were void of sexual interest, and those that had attempted to mate could only produce stillborn litters. On the other hand, the raw meat animals continued to reproduce healthy offspring generation after generation. The notion that specific nutritional factors in food may be destroyed by heat processing is obviously not far-fetched. Physiological deterioration down the generations is quite graphic, and according to Pottinger, the process was found to be reversible only with great difficulty. He did demonstrate that the animals could make considerable gains towards physiological normalcy, but it took 4 generations of a raw food diet before the animals regained their native structure and original level of well-being. An interesting sidelight came 6 months after the experiment's conclusion, when volunteer weeds emerged in the fallow pens. In the raw milk pens, the plants flourished. In the pasteurized milk pens, the growth was somewhat less hardy. Plants in the evaporated milk pens struggled, and the sweetened condensed milk pen speaks for itself. At a later date, navy beans were planted in the respective pens, with parallel results. What are we to make of these numerous observations? I suppose one could easily slip into pessimism when translating these findings into terms of human deficiency. However, there are certain redeeming features that should be examined. From the beginning, the dietary intake of each animal was carefully controlled. Man is rarely restricted to such a high degree because he is omnivorous. Nevertheless, the changes discovered in the Pottinger cats are comparable to many like changes in human beings. The historical work of Dr. Weston A. Price corroborates the Pottinger study by charting the graphic degeneration of primitive tribesmen as they moved from their traditions and dietary customs to the civilized world. And if it is true with human beings, as it is with cats, that nutritionally caused deterioration is passed down the generations, a sobering challenge stands before us. Throughout this study, Pottinger stressed the high degree of dietary control he imposed on his laboratory animals. This is quite an accurate accounting of the facts, with the exception of the one cooked meat cat that somehow got away. Although she did undergo obvious degeneration during her captivity, later she was able to experience a partial physiological recovery while living in the wild. And any fitting epilogue would point out that she compensated in a rather fine manner and carried on the genteel tradition of her feline ancestry.
Okay, so we are some of the cats that escaped. from captivity. We can have a light, please. All right, thank you. So I know the hour is late. There's a lot of information there to process, and we don't have the time really to go through it thoroughly. But I think the point is very clear. When you take cats or any living organism away from its natural food and give it artificial food or processed food, then you produce in that living thing a process of degeneration. And if that goes on for more than a couple of generations in the cases of these cats, then they are no longer able to sustain themselves. They are no longer able to reproduce themselves, and they go extinct. Now, the great fear of Dr. Pottinger and others at the time, in the 40s, was with the advent of processed foods, artificial foods coming into the marketplace, replacing natural foods, that this kind of physical degeneration would begin to occur in human beings. And in fact, here we are 2006, we are some 50 or 60 years into this process of physical degeneration. And we are producing children that display some of the same characteristics. Some of us display the characteristics that we saw in those cats. We never saw hyperactivity syndrome, but now we see it. Children that can't stop moving, all kinds of problems, asthma is a big problem, diabetes. One of the most common complaints that I see when I examine people, arthritis, joints that hurt, joints that are deformed. All of this is due to improper diet and could have been avoided, but it wasn't. And so what we have to do is decide that we want to live according to the way that Allah intended for human beings to live, and that we are going to follow the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We will take our mouth out of the white man's kitchen or die. There is no other way. And so one of the things that I'm very, very pleased with as we came back to the West Coast, Minister Tony, for all of our visits, is to see the progress that so many people have actually made.